Hello my beautiful people, welcome to the next in the series of All About the Signs with me, Raphael from Reydiant Reality. It's an absolute pleasure to have you. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for joining me. So with that said, today it is all about Virgo. So a little word before I start, as I always say, my opinion is just 1 in 7 billion. I am not the longest running astrologer. There are so many people out there that have way more knowledge than I do, but my unique take and unique perspective on the signs is my unique take and perspective on the signs. This is supposed to be fun, it's supposed to be informative, and just a word to say that all of us, all human beings, even the most mundane people that have no care for spirituality, are so much more, so much bigger than anything that your star sign, your correspondences, your numerology. We're all so much bigger and deeper than these things can ever define. It's just about a potential that is possibly expressed through you, right? As human beings, we are so much bigger and so much more than we can fit into a 20-minute video on YouTube or any of those things, right? So please keep that in mind as we go forward. There may be things on here that don't resonate with you. There may be things on here that, there might be things that are missing here. But these are the things that I felt like needed to be mentioned when we were talking about Virgo. So with that said, I've split the attributes into blessings and lessons. And the reason I call them lessons is because I feel like if you can be conscious enough within yourself to evolve past the experience that you're having, you move into a space of transcending that experience and expressing it that way and finding a way to really make it something that will work for you, will be a beneficial, positive, powerful force for the world. So and you know, we're all so self-deprecating enough as it is. I'm not going to stand here and say to someone, these are your bad traits, this is what's terrible about you. They're not. They're just, you know, your blessings are things that you do that are beneficial, that are positive, that are the lighter aspects and attributes of your sign, and your lessons are things that, if unconscious, can become issues for you. And if we're, you know, by doing this video, hopefully I'm shining enough light on this stuff so that you can enhance your blessings and transcend your lessons, and that's what it really is all about for me. So with that said, Virgo, the mutable earth sign. So I've talked about this throughout all of the videos. When you talk about a mutable sign, you're talking about a sign that comes at the end of a season. So it has a changeable nature where that season becomes something else. So mutable earth, this is where, you know, where summer kind of gives way to autumn. The sign of Virgo, so here we go. You can see the planet that rules Virgo is Mercury. It's got there is the glyph for Mercury, and then you've got the glyph here, which is the glyph that represents Virgo. This sign, if you ever see it in a chart on, you know, TV, wherever, or even on Google, that is the symbol that you'll be looking at, and that is the symbol for Virgo. So Virgo rules the 6th house in the zodiac. And the 6th house is where you will find service to others. Who is Virgo? What does Virgo mean? Well, Virgo intacta actually means a virgin or a virgin woman. And when you talk about Virgo, you're talking about what some people call the Maiden, right? So Virgo, virgin, it's kind of, you know, in the name. So when we talk about Virgos, there's so many things that we could say. A lot of people say, you know, perfectionists, and that's one of the things that we hear, but it's so much bigger than that. Virgos love to learn. They're so studious. They really are about doing things to the best of your ability. It's about really pushing beyond what is on the surface, going deep, you know, very much, you know, in similar fashion to Scorpio actually, but in slightly different ways. And when you think about Virgo, they really like to learn every aspect of their craft. It's one of the things that we could all learn from them, that we could all take away from them. Virgo loves to be a student, but also loves to go on to teach because they have so much knowledge that they will impart. I've got an uncle who is a Virgo, and love him to bits, but he takes forever to show you something, because he literally will go into that much detail about it, and in some ways that's absolutely brilliant, because if somebody gives you more knowledge than you actually need, you go beyond just having a superficial understanding of something, right? Virgo itself in the zodiac, but in the physical body, rules the digestive system. When you think about the digestive system, what does it do? It's an eliminative process, right? It pulls out all of the nutrients. It will take all of the best bits of something and sort the wheat from the chaff. This is the other thing, you know, harvest. When you think about that, you often see a woman holding like a sheaf with loads of you know, corn and stuff, and you think about that, that's the whole process, right? We go through the work of raising and growing crops, and then taking in the harvest and separating the wheat from the chaff, right? That's a very Virgo trait, to take, you know, what is the nutrients or the best of something and then leave sort of, you know, literally the crap behind, right? So these are some of the ideas and the concepts that we talk about. You know, other things, one of the things as well that I want to talk about now before we go into anything else, one of the things about Virgos is they're marvelously kind. For all of their other attributes that people talk about, people always forget to mention that they have a very kind streak in them, and sometimes actually to their detriment. So I feel like that's worth working. And you know, very work orientated. They love to be working, to be doing something, to be of service. You know, if you want people working for you and you own a company, hire a Virgo, because they will do the best job they possibly can and really not expect that much in return for it, right? Apart from whatever their basic needs are. That's the other thing as well. There tends to be a lot of contentment in I don't know if I've put that here. No, I haven't, so it's worth mentioning. Tends to be a lot of contentment within Virgos. You know, they really have this ability to just go with what is, you know, to really settle into that experience and just go through it as it is. So with all of that, you know, mentioned and me waffling on for like 7 minutes, my apologies, the blessings. What are the blessings of the Virgo? They are very grounded, literally grounded, like the earth, the environment, you know, is very much linked to Virgos. You know, they will really feel this. And I feel like actually it's worth mentioning also, in that way, you'll notice that Virgos, they keep a clean environment. They need a clean environment. One, because it allows them to think straight. And two, because it really is important for them. I've kind of get this impression with Virgos that if their environment isn't clean, they feel stagnant, and if they feel stagnant, they start to feel ill. You know, so it really is, it's something that they feel on a very deep level. So yeah, and also grounded, they're very practical minded, very logical, like and very intelligent as well. And some of the attributes of that are, it's about intelligence applied to, through skill, right, through actually doing something. So grounded, got both feet on the ground. If you want somebody to give you a sounding board and give you the facts, you probably want a Virgo, because they'll give you all of that. Practical, you know, they really are about the logic, and they will say to you, look, you know, does that work? Is it practical? Is it possible? You know, they will help you define that, what is and what isn't. Again, you see that sort of eliminative power coming into being. Proud to work, they love to work, they love to be of service. No wonder then that you find the house of service, or, you know, service to others or humanity in the 6th house. You know, and proud of it as well. And when you say proud to work, you think about that. This is about having pride in what you do and for what you do, you know. And I think one of the things that you say is like, you know, you are your work, right? That's so true for a Virgo. They put so much into what they do that it's really, really important to them. Organized, really organized. One of the things as well, and even those of you that are probably chuckling thinking I'm not organized, you might have chaos around you, but even the chaos around you will be organized. Like my uncle's shed, you'd go in there, if most people would walk in there and be like, oh my gosh, it's a mess, but literally every little thing has its place, has a piece of paper underneath it with a piece of has a piece of paper underneath it explaining what it is, where it goes, what it does. You know, they love lists. Is a big thing for a Virgo, you know, and making sure that they go through them. And the other thing is, through this power of organization, they have a real tendency to want to get things done, to get things completed, which I find really interesting because it is still a mutable sign. But it has that constancy of the earth behind it, right? Dignified. There's lots of dignity within a Virgo, you know, and this whole thing about being proud to work, it's not just about the work, it's about being proud to be of service, to be of value to other people, and to humanity at a whole. And when we talk about dignified, when you talk about dignity, it's about having an innate sense of self and not compromising on what your morals and your beliefs are. When you're dignified, you have an inner courage, an inner strength. I can't really hone it down more than that, but I'm hoping you get what I mean. So efficient. You know, I think it was, and I say this in love and respect, I think it was Bill Gates that said, if you want to find the easiest way to do the hardest job, give it to the laziest person. Well, I want to counter that phrase, and I want to say, if you want to find the most efficient way of doing something, give it to a Virgo, because they will find a way to do it that is quick, that is efficient, and ultimately doesn't waste time. It's interesting as well. I actually did a course in fencing, and the guy that was teaching the class said the best fencers are the people that have come to understand. It's about the art of being lazy, right? And I don't actually see that. It's about efficiency of movement. So rather than, you know, swinging your arm, you just need to move your wrist in a certain way or at a certain speed. And so in that way, Virgos can identify the best ways to do things. You know, they counter this idea of being lazy, and they just say, you know what, use your intelligence and apply that, and you will get the best results from it. Beautiful. Industrious. Very creative, but in an industrious sort of way. So what does industrious mean? It's about, you know, creating technologies or using your surroundings to create things that make life easier. You know, lots of discoveries in that way will have been found by people that are Virgos, you know. Studious, they love, you know, I talked about this, about loving to be a student and to be a teacher. Lots of knowledge, gathering knowledge. They will often have many different subjects, you know, like a lot of people will have a tidbit of knowledge on everything and then specialize in one thing. The Virgo seems to be able to study many things and specialize at several of them and store a lot of knowledge on each one of them in their brains, which is amazing. Constant, there's a real constancy that I feel. I don't know, from all the Virgos that I know, and I had one of them was actually my massage teacher, and I tell you what, he was phenomenal. Like literally the stuff this guy couldn't tell you, the stuff this guy could tell you could literally fill 3 or 4 books. He was amazing, and in large part actually it was him pushing me that enabled me to become a better therapist. So I will forever be grateful to him, and he was a Virgo as well, and I tell you, his knowledge was insane. And you know, yeah, and that's what I mean with a constancy. It's like, I will see this through to completion, and I will take away from it everything that I possibly can, not just what's on the surface. I'll take the lot and then I'll sort through the rest of it myself. And then considerate. You know, what is considerate? To consider others, to think of others, and in that you find the true meaning of what it is to be of service to other people. You know, you have to be considerate to have that kind of attribute. So they have so many of them. There's so many more as well. Natural healers, people that have an innate understanding of all things healing arts, whether that is herbs, whether it's homeopathy, massage as well, you know, Reiki, all of those things. There's a real sense of wanting or needing to assist people to become better, either in themselves or at what they do. It's about elevation, right, in some way, shape or form. And very often the best way to get someone to where they need to be, or to elevate them, is to, you know, to be underneath them, to push them up or forward. So I hope that helps. So now let's move on to some of the lessons. You know, we talked about this in, where is it? Industrial. Precise. Precision is one of the things, you know, honing a craft to its absolute best, pushing it. A perfect example, Beyonce is a Virgo. And I remember watching a video or a vlog of some kind of hers. She had 2 producers come in to work on one of her shows or music, 2 of them, for like 3 or 4 hours a piece, and she worked both sets of those. So as soon as one left, the other one sat down and she stayed for the next session as well. That's what I mean about precision. It's got to be precise, which can lead to nitpicking or pedantic behavior, being really sort of, you know, drilling into things. And the lessons are some of the stuff that can happen unconsciously through wanting the best. Sometimes if it runs away with itself, it becomes unconscious. So, you know, they can become critical. Well, it's not this, it isn't that, or, you know, why are you doing that? And sometimes I don't get the sense that it's actually to be mean. I think it's because they have such high standards of themselves that they expect everyone else to be that. And unfortunately, that's not the world. You know, life comes in so many different colours, shapes and forms, and everything in between. So critical and pedantic for sure. Cautious, because they're very aware of what the consequences of actions may be, you know, because they analyse everything. Sometimes there's kind of like it's almost like, and it's been said as well, that if a planet expresses itself through Virgo energy, it will do so cautiously or precisely. And that is, you know, that's kind of what they're talking about there. So hesitant, the same thing as cautious, you know. And being hesitant as well can be a real drawback, because sometimes you could see how something could benefit you, but because of what potentially could go wrong with it, you hesitate. And the problem with being hesitant is it leads to procrastination. If you procrastinate too much, we've all had it, we've all been through it. Sometimes in life, if you procrastinate on something, the opportunity is gone, and there are opportunities in life that will never come again. So find a way to deal with that. OCD. I'm not saying only Virgos have OCD. What I'm saying is a lot of them are prone to it. You know, whether it's picking nails, biting nails. You know, I had a friend who used to scratch as well. This whole thing with the clean environment, it's brilliant, but also it can go too far. If you have a lot of Virgo or a heavy Virgo influence, the chances are you will have it's certainly, if you're unconscious or unaware, you will have, and it's because, you know, what is OCD is about wanting to be clean, but to the extreme. Very often it's in response to some kind of event that has left a feeling of being stained, or, you know, something akin. Don't get me wrong, for some people it's not about any of those things, but OCD is something that can definitely develop due to that need for cleanliness. And for me, what it kind of feels like, it's not necessarily about the cleanliness itself, it's about something inside that feels like it needs to be cleansed and can't be. You know, some people will wash their hands 4 and 5, 6 times an hour. Conscious of the consequences, I mentioned that. Perfectionist, one of the things that they do talk about when they talk about, and this actually, although it is a lesson, it's also a blessing. I just didn't have the space to write it. You know, it's good to be a perfectionist, to have pride in your work, to want something to be the best that it can be. That's a very Virgo trait, and with that perfectionist streak, when it is unconscious, again, if your standards are so high, people are always going to disappoint you. Not only does that lead to some kind of depression eventually, but it also stops people wanting to be in your vicinity or to try to help, because it's like, well, it doesn't matter what I do, it's never going to be good enough. Is that something that you recognize in yourself? If it is, just try to, and I'm not saying don't have high standards, I'm just saying maybe not everybody has the same level as you. And if that is the case, you can either, you know, do the whole thing of student teacher and help them get up to that level, or you can point it out in a way that doesn't become you know, destructive for other people or sort of condescending, but it can also condescending, but you can also do it in a way that it doesn't exclude you from your peers or your people. Conscious of the consequences, controlling, and this very much for me feeds into this whole idea of perfectionist. If I want it done right, I'm going to have to do it myself, and if I can't do it myself, then I'm going to micromanage. Again, that gives off a certain vibe, and it also stops, it creates a barrier between you and other people. You know, there's more than one way to peel an onion, right? There's so many ways to do it. They might not all be your way. They might not all be as efficient as you could do it, but it still gives the same end result. And sometimes it's more about that than it is about the process that you take to get there. Condescending. It's about the intelligence, right? When you have this super understanding of things, what comes to mind? Sheldon. For those of you that have seen The Big Bang Theory, I believe Sheldon would be a Virgo. You know, and sometimes I feel like it's probably difficult for them to be around certain types of people. So it may come across as they're being condescending, but actually it's just that they're like, you know what? I can't with this. And then finally, fatalistic. There's very much, and when I say fatalistic, this is kind of like, well, that is the way that it is and it's never going to change, or it's never going to be any different. It's kind of like whatever result they arrive at, because of that almost scientifically working mind, it's almost like that's it. It can never be changed. So, you know, if they're having a bad day, like, that's it, this bad day is going to turn into a bad week, which means my life is awful and it's going to end in doom and fire will rain from the sky. You know, there's that sort of almost need to go to the extreme, and, you know, just see the really bad. And again, when you think about the digestive system, it removes all of the waste, all of the crap, and, you know, leaves everything else behind. There is that sort of tendency to cling to, well, it's all going to be shit anyway, so what's the point? I feel like that comes from some of the depression that sets in, you know, when the perfectionist and the controlling sort of stuff comes up. You know, it's like, wow, I'm going to have to do it myself anyway. So these are just some of the ways that you can view or get to know a Virgo, if you are one, if you are living with one, if you are raising one. This is just a small glimpse into who Virgos are as people. I hope you found it fun. I hope you found it informative, and I hope it's helped you in some way, shape or form. I wish you an abundance of love, light, peace, prosperity and abundance itself. Take care, and I will see you very soon for more videos.